You may recall the so-called nuclear bailout bill in Ohio, also known as HB 6. It was a $1.3 billion bill that paid to subsidize two FirstEnergy coal plants. A consumer advocacy group is working to learn if the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio staff member influenced an auditor who oversaw some of the charges on customers' electric bills in relation to this. The director of the Ohio Consumers Council, Maureen Willis, is with us now to go over the subpoena that they've obtained to get more answers on the allegations and how they're fighting for the average utility customer. Maureen, thank you for taking the time.
Thank you, Lindsay, for having me.
Yes, so the PUCO is allowing your organization to subpoena Rodney Wendell, who is a member of the PUCO staff. So wondering what you're hoping to learn from Wendell.
Well, Ohioans have paid in the last 3 years more than $200 million in coal subsidies. And the evidence that we have shows that the audits that are meant to protect consumers may have been compromised. So if the PUCO staff, Mr. Wendell, can steer the auditor's conclusion, then those audits really aren't independent audits, and consumers are the ones who lose.
And what's the name of the charge customers may have seen on their utility bills that paid for those coal subsidies?
Yeah, they would be called the legacy generation rider, or I think that's generally what it's called, legacy generation rider, although each utility can call it a different name. We did have an energy bill. The energy bill, HB 15, ended the collection of those subsidies starting in August 14th of this year. So these charges that are being audited relate to prior periods.
Now, do you and the other organization that's digging for more information, do you want to find a way to reimburse customers all of that money?
Well, what we're looking at, Lindsay, is to make sure that the over $200 million that was spent and charged to consumers was really a valid charge. So what we're looking at is, were those charges, were they prudent? Should they have been passed through to consumers? And of course, the audits are very important in trying to determine whether or not consumers overpaid. So, you know, our issue is with the independence of the audits, and consumers should get independent audits, and that helps answer questions about whether the charges that were collected from them were reasonable and in accordance with law.
Are there other questions that you have, or do you think that this will be the main focus, at least for right now?
Right now, that is our main focus, is trying to get down to the bottom of whether the audits were compromised or not. You know, OCC is the watchdog, and our role as a watchdog is to take a look at charges. So when audits are softened because there's behind the scenes talks with regulators, it undermines the independence of the audit, and then families and businesses end up paying more than they should. So that's why it matters.
Tell us a little bit more about your goal and why this should be a sign and maybe a message for them to pay close attention.
Well, Lindsay, details matter because consumers deserve the truth. In the case that we're involved with, the auditor's draft was stronger for consumers, but then after PUCO involvement, it looks like the key protections were watered down. So these are the kind of details that we need to get to figure out whether consumers are getting a fair deal.
Are you hopeful that there will be more reimbursements in the future from what transpired during HB 6?
Absolutely. We have, there are several cases that are waiting at the PUCO where we've litigated those issues beyond the the coal subsidies. So yes, absolutely. We're out there fighting for more money to be returned to consumers as a result of the HB 6 scandal.
All right, Maureen, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us and explaining the allegations and how you're fighting for the customers.
Thank you, Lindsay.